12:34 here on Game Points Radio. Welcome back to TSN 690, your home, the Owls Impact Habs in the 2014 Rogers Cup. Steph Michella, Jimmy G. Mo on a muggy Wednesday morning. Let's welcome in our next guest, the host of Game Time Decisions, weekdays at 3 p.m. on the Fantasy Sports Network, Gabriel Morency. Gabriel, how you been?
Yeah, I'm doing okay, Bo. I'm doing okay. I'm surprised that you haven't me on tonight. From what I heard, there's no power in Montreal, or at least that's what I saw from watching the tennis. So I see you guys are running on a generator there at TSN Radio.
Well, we're doing big things here at the campus on TSN here. But speaking of generator, surprised by Eugenie Bouchard and how she flamed out, losing 0-6, 6-2, 0-6. This reminded me how Germany dismantled Brazil 7-1 at the World Cup last month.
Yeah, that's a pretty good comparison, actually, Mo. I was shocked. It actually cost me a nice chunk of change this evening. I decided to jump on the bandwagon. I wish I never did, and I didn't even really realize she was playing at 7 o'clock, and I found out at about 5:30 and ended up placing a pretty big bet on it. I thought that she might be a little bit rusty, obviously, because she hasn't played since Wimbledon. And the fact is, the last time she played this girl, she actually lost. So maybe we shouldn't be shocked. But, you know, the way that it happened, and to see her melt down like that was just, it was unbelievable. Because, you know, her one trait is her mental toughness. You know, so many players on the women's tour are so talented. There's, you know, it's like any sport. There's not a big gap really in talent, you know, between the elite in the world, but it's mental, and we see. You know, we've seen Serena over the years be so mentally tough. Maria Sharapova when she was younger. You know, Bouchard reminds me obviously a lot of who her idol was in Sharapova, in which we used to see Sharapova sort of melt down and be on the verge of just a complete nervous breakdown and tears and very overly dramatic. And you look at her now and she's got ice in her veins. And, you know, Bouchard has had ice in her veins from the get-go. And to see her sort of melt down and tell her coach that she doesn't want to be on the court and she wants to leave, and, you know, to be on the verge of tears after being down one set. I mean, come on. It's a little overly dramatic here. I mean, you know, it's not the finals of the U.S. Open. And, you know, I loved R.J. Broadhead on the telecast, sort of just making excuses for her because it's the Canadian thing to do, in which you just don't understand the pressure she's under. And I'm thinking she's not trying to defuse, you know, an IED here, you know, in the Middle East. She's not defusing a bomb, all right? She's playing tennis in Montreal. Let's calm down as far as the pressure. You know, I don't want to use the word choke just because it seems mean because she's cute and she's a young girl and stuff, but she's got to choke tonight. I mean, that's just the bottom line. Let's hope that it doesn't have a residual effect after the fact, because this girl is going places that ultimately, you know, this tournament doesn't matter. It's just another tournament on the tour. I mean, people talk about the Grand Slams, not about who wins a tournament. I won't give them the benefit of mentioning the name of the tournament, but you know, does anyone remember who won the Cincinnati tournament last year, Mo?
I will not parlay that prediction. I don't know who won that.
Well, no, exactly. So everyone, it's such a huge loss. I mean, is it? If she lost to Cincinnati, is it? You know, like,
yeah.
Who won in Long Beach?
Right.
You know, on the WTA tour last year or this year. And you don't know. Nobody cares, man. Like, so let's not get overly dramatic. You know, maybe, I don't know. I don't know what goes on in her personal life, and I don't know the relationships that she has with people, but obviously just spending so much time in Montreal and not on the tour and, you know, not in a zone caught up with her. And I guess she thought she would sort of roll out and everything, she would win, you know, 6-0, and, you know, everything would go according to script. But I'll tell you what, man, you know, Shelley Rogers came to play.
We're in conversation with Gabriel Morency here on TSN Radio 690. More likely to happen, Becky Hammon or Patrick Ewing getting a head coaching job in the next 5 years?
That's a good question. Can I go with neither?
Well, you know, your thoughts, though, with Becky Hammon being a part of the Spurs coaching staff, that's like going to Harvard University for your coaching education.
Yeah, you know what? Well, first off, it's amazing if people don't really realize who Becky Hammon is. Because what amazes me about this story, Mo, is is not so much that there's a women's coach. I mean, listen, Doris Burke is one of the best analysts in the game.
Agreed. Yes.
Yeah, Doris Burke could be a coach. I mean, she was a great point guard in college. She could be a coach in college basketball now, but she makes a lot of money on ESPN. So I'm not overly shocked. I mean, without women referees, although she's terrible, but they're all terrible. So I'm not being sexist in saying that Violet Palmer is a train wreck on the court. But I'm not shocked. Really, I mean, is it? It's bold. It's innovative. It's amazing that we see, the model franchise of the National Basketball Association doing this. But what surprises me about this is that Becky Hammon, she's not a coach. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like it would, if you told me, like, when I heard about this originally, the original just in the studio today was, the Spurs hired a woman assistant coach. And I said, from what school? That was my initial answer. It wouldn't shock me, to find out that, the coach from UConn, although I mean, a bad example, because, or whatever the hell his name is, he's not leaving. Yeah, he's not leaving. But, it wouldn't surprise me if an accomplished NCAA women's coach got an assistant coaching position after paying her dues, etc. Becky Hammon, Becky Hammon was playing last year. Like, this is like Jason Kidd, basically. Stepping off the court into a coaching situation. And, just because I'm a degenerate, I actually know the Becky Hammon story. It's actually pretty hot by basketball standards, so we'll get that out of the way. But Becky Hammon, of course, and you probably know, Mo, she's considered a traitor by a lot of people.
She played for Russia.
She played for Russia in the Olympics because she got cut by the American team. Even though she was good enough, there was a rift with the classic story. There was a rift with the program. She was actually good enough to make the team. But USA Basketball and her eyes screwed her over. And she played, like a lot of the girls do, she played in the Russian League. When because the WNBA season's kind of short. So she played in the Russian League for some decent money. And by Russian rules, if you play in the Russian League for a certain amount of games, you're eligible to play on their national team. And she did. So, she was sort of disowned by the WNBA community and the American women's basketball community. So it's ironic that here she is, just a couple of years later, the first woman, seriously, Mo, somebody, like, if you found out that, Rebecca Lobo was a coach, you know what I mean? Or, Cheryl Swoops, who's named assistant coach in the LA Lakers, or one of the coaches. You wouldn't be surprised. But I was surprised that it's Becky Hammon, just because, as I stated, she's not a coach, she's never been a coach, and she was recently a player. So, obviously, Popovich thinks pretty highly of her.
One conversation with Gabriel Morency on Game Points Radio on TSN 690. Steph.
Gabriel, Habs fans were sitting on their hands waiting for something to get done with PK Subban. The whole summer it seemed to drag on and on and on. Finally, PK gets the long-term contract many thought he would get. It's an average cap at 9 years. What are your feelings on the contract and how everything went down?
Well, I knew this was going to come up eventually. I got to tell you, I have a lot of followers on Twitter, and I have a lot of, freaks that hate me that follow me on Twitter. And, I'll say things, I'll take a lot of flack, but it's amazing, man. I mentioned something about the Canadians, and I got so much hate the other day for bringing up that the Canadians are stupid for taking them to arbitration. And, ultimately they ended up paying him anyways. Why not just pay him before? Why not just pay him before? Which I don't understand. It's the classic, you're arguing with your girlfriend, tell her, all of her flaws, sort of break up with her, and then, ultimately make up and take her out dinner to a five-star restaurant and blow all your money on her. And, it's just strange, so I don't know what the Canadian strategy was as to let's take an arbitration knowing that we're going to end up signing him. But, it's a no-brainer, really. I think Montreal Canadian fans and, people going crazy on Twitter after he re-signed. And, the Canadians are supposed to re-sign him. That's the problem with the expectation level. Look, he's great. We re-signed a guy that we already had. People should be asking, can we sign other players as well? Can we make the team better? But I think it's a fair deal monetarily wise. Subban's not quite,
the best. Obviously, Doughty to me is the best defenseman in the National Hockey League. You've got Duncan Keith. But, Subban's he's a star right now. He's a future superstar. Personally, in my opinion, from the Canadian standpoint, I'm not as close to it as I used to be, but I wouldn't be paying Andre Markov all this money at this point in time. The Canadians are kind of fast-trapped right now, and, I wouldn't be paying Markov. I think the Canadians need some juice up front. I think the money would be better spent somewhere else, but I think it's great news for the Canadians. Subban's a great guy. He's a great representative to have representing the franchise. He's just got so much charisma, and if this kid was playing on the New York Rangers, man, what a big star he would be. If he was on the Toronto Maple Leafs, and to me, Michel Therrien should be on his hands and knees. That this kid, is put up with Therrien's crap. I'm trying to make him a better player. Listen, he's a better player without you, Michel. With or without you, he's going to be a better player. Like the benching and the public media scolding, etc. You can't say he's been treated with kid gloves. That's for damn sure. He's put up a lot of crap, in my opinion. But hey, there was a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow here, and he got paid.
Gabriel, what do you have lined up for game time decisions on Wednesday's show at 3 p.m.?
I'm actually going to be reunited tomorrow with the former partner in crime of my Raging Redhead, Cam Stewart.
Oh, boy.
We used to host a daily show
Show together that was very popular. A lot of people really miss it. It's amazing, man. It's been 7 years or something, 6, 7 years since we haven't done the show together. And
Time
I swear
flies,
the day
huh?
goes by that people don't bring it up still. So Cam's going to be in studio with me actually tomorrow, and I'm not a huge golf guy. I might sprinkle a couple of bets on the major on the PGA this weekend, but Cam's really into it. And, golf is pretty popular. Golf fantasy is popular. So Cam Stewart's going to be in studio. We're going to be talking some NFL football futures as well tomorrow with Ted Savransky.
Gabriel, as always, a pleasure to converse with you. We'll speak to you next week, my friend.
Hey, great stuff. Always a pleasure.